All right, let's talk about something pretty wild. We're going to dive into the fascinating and frankly, really controversial world of the vegan bro, and we're going to do it by looking at one of its most infamous figures.
And we have to start right here. Yeah, you read that right. This is a quote from the guy at the center of our story, Richard Burgess, who you probably know as Vegan Gains. And wow, it's a shocking way to start, for sure, but it really sets the stage for the kind of extreme, in-your-face rhetoric we're about to explore.
So when you hear something like that, you have to wonder, how on earth does a movement that's all about compassion end up producing activism that sounds, well, like that? That's the big question we're going to try to unpack here.
To even begin to understand how someone like Vegan Gains could get so popular, you first have to look at the cultural stage he walked onto. And it all starts with this really old, really tense relationship between meat, men, and what it means to be masculine.
You know the drill, right? For forever, eating meat has been tied to these classic male stereotypes. The hunter, the guy at the barbecue, a sign of strength. But then you have veganism, which gets hit with all these other stereotypes, like the whole soy boy thing. It's culturally seen as being more about compassion, which, to some people, equals weakness. So anytime a guy decides to go vegan, he's kind of pushing back against these huge, deep-seated ideas.
And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. The numbers actually show it. Look at Veganuary. It's gotten more and more popular overall, but the percentage of men taking part, it actually went down between 2018 and 2021. It just goes to show that even with veganism hitting the mainstream, there's still a pretty big gender gap.
So what happens when you get this kind of cultural pushback? Well, a whole new identity starts to pop up. The vegan, or what you might call the vegan bro. It's basically a way for some guys to go plant-based without feeling like they're giving up their masculinity. The focus isn't so much on empathy for animals anymore, it shifts to things like performance, getting strong, and yeah, a lot of times, aggression.
And this whole cultural tension, it created the absolute perfect storm for the guy who'd become the poster child for this aggressive, hyper-masculine veganism. Richard Burgess, aka Vegan Gains.
And don't get it twisted, he was a big deal. With over 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, he built a really significant platform. He had a major influence on a whole slice of the internet, from fitness communities to the vegan world.
I mean, just look at his career path. It's a total roller coaster. He starts his channel in late 2014, and pretty much right away he gets noticed for being super confrontational. Then comes the massive controversies, like that unbelievable video with his grandfather. He even gets his channel deleted for a while, and then comes back as a totally different kind of online personality.
But it's important to know where he claimed he was coming from at first. In his own telling, his goal was to call out what he saw as the toxic, fake side of the fitness world. You know, the steroid use, the unhealthy diets. He said he was just trying to open people's eyes to a culture he thought was really dangerous.
And the way he went about that mission, well, that's what made him famous, or maybe infamous. It was this uniquely aggressive and super polarizing style of activism that defined his entire online brand.
His debate style was legendary in some corners of the internet. He was just relentless, just hammering the same points again and again and again. His fans saw it as him being genuine and consistent. His critics found it completely infuriating. But he had this talent for backing his opponents into a corner with these wild hypothetical questions, making them defend positions that just sounded awful. He even took his philosophy to some really strange places, like arguing we should cull predatory animals just to reduce the total amount of suffering in the world.
But there's a line, right? There's always a line between being a passionate advocate and, well, going way, way too far. And according to pretty much everyone, Vegan Gains didn't just cross that line, he completely obliterated it. This is where he went from controversial to truly infamous.
Okay, so the first huge scandal involved another YouTuber, Furious Pete. He was a competitive eater, a fitness guy, and was known for eating a ton of meat.
So when Furious Pete announced that his testicular cancer had come back for a second time, Vegan Gains uploaded a video just mocking him. He said Pete's diet was the cause and used some truly disgusting language, saying the illness couldn't be making him stupid because, in his words, he was born retarded. It was brutal.
And if you thought that was bad, what came next was somehow even more shocking, mainly because it was so deeply personal.
So get this, in 2015, his own grandfather had a fatal heart attack, and his first instinct was to pull out his camera and start filming. He later said he wanted to use the footage to warn people about the dangers of eating meat.
Unsurprisingly, his family was horrified and begged him to take it down.
So after all of that, all the controversy, getting his channel taken down, the public hate, what's the legacy here? Where did this path actually lead him?
Well, his whole public persona has done a complete 180. He started as the debater, the guy who would argue with literally anyone. Then he became the recluse after his channel got nuked. Now he's back, but as the streamer. And he mostly talks about personal stuff, like his divorce. And the craziest part? He now refuses to do the one thing that made him famous in the first place.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This is him from a recent live stream. The aggressive debate lord is just gone. He's been replaced by someone who sounds completely burned out and angry at the very idea of confrontation. It's a shocking pivot from the guy who built his entire career on it.
So what are we supposed to make of all this? The story of Vegan Gains is so much more than just internet drama. It's really a case study in a very specific, fringe type of activism that makes us ask some pretty tough questions, like where does passion stop and genuine harm begin? Do these shock tactics actually work? And maybe the biggest question of all, what's the human cost of being this controversial, this hated, online all the time? His journey from angry debater to a guy talking about his personal struggles really hints at the price you pay for living that kind of life.
And in the end, his whole trip from influencer to infamy really just leaves us with this one giant question. For any movement that claims to have compassion as its guiding principle, can you effectively or even ethically use aggression as your main tool? It's this messy, complicated problem that a lot of movements, not just veganism, are still trying to figure out.